How's it going, fight fans? Welcome to mindforcombat. If you're new to this channel, my name's Rohan, and this is my platform where I do MMA and boxing related content. And if you're new here, I need you to help me grow my platform by simply hitting the subscribe button, liking the video, and maybe getting involved in the conversation in the comment section below. And let's be real here, man. Subscribing ain't going to cost you no money, but it's going to help me reach personal goals. So why don't you just help me try and do that? Anyways, this is a video that I'm really excited to make because it involves a fighter that I believe is really underappreciated in the scheme of world mixed martial arts today. It's a guy that I believe is underrated, underappreciated, almost criminally underrated, and really deserves a ton more respect than he gets. And I really hope he starts to get that respect. That I am, of course, talking about Ryan Bader, and he looks to defend one of his two current world titles against Cheick Kongo when he defends his heavyweight title in what's going to be a huge fight for Bellator. He comes into this fight, off the back of that tournament win when he just took out Fedor Emelianenko. He's also the reigning Bellator light heavyweight champion, although he hasn't defended his belt in a while. He comes in to defend his heavyweight title in what should be an incredible fight against a very deserving contender in Cheick Kongo. Cheick Kongo in his own right, despite his advanced age, is on a great win streak and has beaten guys that are currently having success in the UFC, and he's beaten them on his current win streak. So the Cheick Kongo that beat them is the same, would in my opinion be a top 10 heavyweight in the UFC right now. So that's really exciting. So anyways guys, let's get into the tape and look how this fight plays out. Ryan Bader is the younger man, and younger is a relative term. He's 36 years old, but at 36 years old, he has still looked fast, has his reflexes, still looks like he's constantly improving. And at 36 at heavyweight isn't that old, I suppose. And particularly when you consider he's fighting a man who's 8 years his senior, who is 44 years old. And whilst he is 44, Cheick Kongo has had a ton of success, but that age does bear witnessing, because at some point he won't have the reflexes he's always had, and this could be that day. This fight could be the fight where he's just not the same Cheick Kongo anymore, so bear that in mind. Ryan Bader comes into this fight with a record of 27 wins and 5 losses. Bear in mind he's also 12-1 in his last 13 fights, has won world titles in 2 weight classes, on a 7-fight win streak. That shows you what kind of performances Ryan Bader's been having recently. His sole loss in that time is a very poor fight to Anthony Rumble Johnson, where he made a very bad decision, and he paid for that, but he's learned since then, he's improved. Cheick Kongo has a mixed martial arts record of 30 wins, 10 losses and 2 draws. He's on a 7-fight win streak in his own right, and he has looked pretty damn good in those 7-fight win streaks. Like I said, he's beaten guys that have gone on to the UFC. These are both very experienced fighters, both main event fighters, and there should be no issues in experience in this fight. The difference in this fight is going to be that Cheick Kongo is a true heavyweight who is a career heavyweight versus Ryan Bader, who's a career light heavyweight. But maybe he is good suited for heavyweight as well, but here's where you see the difference. Ryan Bader stands at 6'2", which is 2 inches shorter than Cheick Kongo. The big disadvantage is in reach, where Ryan Bader has a 74-inch reach and Cheick Kongo has an 82-inch reach. Now consider that for a second. He's got an 8-inch reach and a 2-inch height advantage. He's also probably going to weigh about 20 pounds more than him. And this is a guy who's a polished, experienced veteran striker for about 3 decades now. And he's going to know how to utilize every single one of those inches. So that should be very interesting watching that coming into this fight. Their styles. So Ryan Bader's got a wrestling style. Like, he's a very talented wrestler. He's obviously improved his stand-up dramatically over the years, and he's got very good boxing. He's got power in his punches. He has gotten some brutal knockouts throughout the course of his career, and we'll talk about his resume in a bit. But his style is really, he's a wrestle boxer. Let's call him a wrestle boxer. Cheick Kongo is a polished striker. He fought as a professional kickboxer before he ever done MMA. But whilst he has got that the kicking and punching aspects of his game, he's also got what I like to call wall and stall, and I don't mean that with no disrespect to Cheick Kongo. It is definitely a part of his game, though. He's done that, it's a joke. Obviously, for all the jokes made about growing Cheick Kongo, is also a known wall and staller, so that's something to consider. When I like to say that Ryan Bader is one of the best light heavyweights in the last 10 years, his resume kind of speaks for itself, and I'm going to read you his resume now, and just take a minute to think about his resume. So he's got 2 wins over Hojiri and Nogueira, the first of which being when he was on an 8-fight win streak and a top contender in the UFC. He's beaten Quentin Rampage Jackson over in Japan when nobody else on earth thought he was about to beat Rampage. He beat Rashad Evans, who at the time was on a win streak, and that was actually the first loss in Rashad Evans' 5-fight losing streak. So I give him a lot more credit for beating Rashad when he had momentum than I do someone like, say, Anthony Smith, who beat him at the end of his losing streak. So it's kind of different there, so that's something to consider. He beat both OSP and Ilir Latifi, who are both to this day ranked top 10, top 15 light heavyweights in the world. and that's something to, you know, obviously consider. He's beaten Phil Davis not once but twice. Phil Davis was a perennial top 10, top 5 fighter in the UFC, and he was a former Bellator light heavyweight champion. His only losses in that stretches to Ryan Bader, so that shows you how good Ryan Bader is. Of course, he's gone up in weight class and he's beaten the likes of Mo, a top respected, durable fighter and a former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion. He's beaten the great Fedor, granted an older Fedor, but he's done it in under a minute, which is incredible. And he dominated Matt Mitrione on the ground, so that is an incredible resume by today's standards, and that's one I want you guys to take a minute to just appreciate that. Cheick Kongo's got a pretty good resume himself. Like I say, he has been around for years and years and years and years, so Cheick Kongo was a guy who's very, very experienced, and his wins include dating back to Mirko Cro Cop back in 2007, I believe it was. He's also beaten the likes of Alexander Volkov, who's gone on to have a run in the UFC, and this isn't his current win streak. He beat him. He beat Augustus Sakai, who's undefeated in the UFC right now, and I'm naming these guys because, you know, they're still relevant to you guys in this day and age in the UFC, so that's something to consider. He's also beaten the likes of Vitaly Minakov, who was 21-0 coming into that fight. That revenged one of his past losses. Now, controversial as it may be, he does have a win over Vitaly Minakov now, so that's something to consider, and that's very, very impressive to me. And he's beaten, of course, the likes of Matt Mitrione, gave him his first loss, and that incredible fight with Pat Barry. How can we forget that, where he almost got knocked out and came back to win the fight? Coming into this fight for Ryan Bader, his issues are going to be, he's been hittable. So, and that kind of ties into his chin. So I've seen Ryan Bader knocked out unconscious twice against Glover Teixeira and against Lyoto Machida. Of course, he's lost other fights as well, but those fights jump out to me, and Anthony Rumble Johnson, because he was hittable and he got taken out. Now, with the exception of maybe Anthony Rumble Johnson, I think Cheick Kongo's a heavier hitter than both of those other two gentlemen, and Lyoto Machida in particular has fought down at middleweight. Cheick Kongo's a true heavyweight with heavyweight knockout power. If Ryan Bader does get wild like he has in the past, which has caused him trouble, like he had Glover Teixeira rocked and in trouble, then he went in berserker mode and he got caught and knocked out, he will pay those prices against Cheick Kongo, an experienced striker who can zone in on those mistakes that you make. So that's something to consider. I feel like he's tightened up his defenses, and those are past issues, but it's still something worth noting. For Cheick Kongo, his issues are going to be, well, obviously it jumps out at you at 44 years old. His age is always going to be an issue. This is a fight, mixed martial arts is a young man's game at 44 years old, even at heavyweight that is old. And at some point his reflexes are going to start to go, so that's something that you've got to consider is going to start to impact him. Historically, I wouldn't have said Cheick Kongo's wrestling was a problem, but coming into a fight with Ryan Bader, his wrestling bears to be tested against a superior amateur wrestler who's got a great amateur wrestling pedigree, who has out-wrestled a lot of fighters. I believe that's going to be something that Ryan Bader looks to utilise. The X factor for Ryan Bader will be his wrestling, and for Cheick Kongo at heavyweight, with his power, it's going to be his power. Obvious ones, yeah? So let's get into the prediction. Now, I believe that Cheick Kongo is going to be able to defend takedowns early in this fight. He's going to be able to defend takedowns early in this fight and be able to make Ryan Bader pay. Maybe he's going to land some shots on the feet. I believe he's going to land some shots early, and Ryan Bader's going to have to wind his P's and Q's early in this fight. However, Ryan Bader is someone who I believe has got technical, good, proficient boxing. He's obviously not a dominant or devastating striker, but I believe over the years he's developed a really good, well-rounded game, and he's got a good, proficient striking boxing pace, and he's going to be able to use that to protect himself in the tough exchanges, and he's going to be able to weather any initial storm. As the time goes on, I believe he's the better mixed martial artist than Cheick Kongo, and he's going to be able to start bringing in his wrestling into the play. And I believe whilst Cheick Kongo will be able to defend early takedowns, because he's historically always been good at defending takedowns, as the fight wears on, I believe Ryan Bader is going to be able to start getting those takedowns, and when he starts to get those takedowns, it's going to start making a difference, and we're going to start to see Cheick Kongo start to fade. Given his age, that will start to make a difference, at which point I'm going to see Ryan Bader getting on top of him, smothering him, and in rounds 2 or 3, even 3 or 4, I believe he's going to be able to control him on the ground, and then eventually advance in position and be able to get submission. So for my official prediction, fight fans, I'm going to go with Ryan Bader to submit Cheick Kongo in rounds 3 or 4. So guys, tell me how you guys have this fight. Who do you have winning this fight? And let me know what you guys think of Ryan Bader. Do you think he's as good as I'm saying him? Am I overselling him? Or, you know, what's your opinions on Ryan Bader? I'm actually really interested in that. And what do you think are Cheick Kongo's opportunities in this fight, or both of their opportunities in this fight? Let me know what you thought of my breakdown. Give me any feedback. Comment below with your fight picks. And thank you for watching. And obviously, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And thank you guys. This is Rohan. You watch Mind for Combat. Thank you. Have a nice day.